You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible, and so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC, and hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Metro Ford of OKC is proudly serving Oklahoma City with vehicles you can rely on and service you can trust. It's also why they're Oklahoma's #1 performance dealership. Shop the inventory today at metrofordokc.com, where the difference is real.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. We are at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Peggy Kates, who is a community advocate and volunteer, and also very in charge of one of the biggest wrecking companies probably in the state. And you've probably seen the trucks around. I'm excited to dive into your story because there is a lot of things that you have on your bio, a lot of things in your list. One of the things that stands out immediately is you are named a Distinguished Alumni from UCO and 50 Women Making a Difference. At the Hall of Fame, people know that everybody in this building that's associated with it makes a difference in some capacity. It doesn't matter if it's just opening the front door to someone and showing them this building, or if it's donating, or if it's noting your time. You've done a lot of all of these things, so I'm really excited to dive into your story. Grew up in Calumet.
Yeah, it's a small little town.
It's beautiful sunsets in Calumet, though.
Yeah,
I have a friend out there who takes a lot of beautiful sunsets. But you grew up on a dairy farm, which is
I did.
really hard work.
Yes, and it's town, 500 people, graduating class, 21. And we lived about 10 miles outside of town, milked twice a day. It was very time consuming because the cows, you couldn't just take off. So we didn't take many family vacations. We would go to the lake during the day and come back in time to milk the cows. But it was a wonderful life. I loved it.
Big family, small family?
I had 2 sisters and a brother.
Okay. Are you the youngest?
I am the oldest.
Are you the oldest? Okay,
Yes,
I'm the oldest
yes.
too. There's certain things that come with being the eldest sibling, right?
Yeah.
You can't really mess up that much because you're always worried about your parents. Whereas the younger one, they mess up all the time and they get away with it because
That's
they're
right.
babies. But you're the trailblazer.
Well, I don't know if I call myself the trailblazer, but I was the older one. And there's 10 years difference between my brother and sister. One sister is 2.5 years
Mhm.
younger, and then 10 years. So I was also the babysitter
Yeah.
a lot.
Mhm.
And, we cooked meals, the harvest, everything about it was just a lot of hard work. And it was a community that I grew up in that I think back now, it's one of the things that we miss a lot sometimes. But there was I tell this story occasionally because even though we're out in the country and most houses are probably a mile apart, there was a grocery store in town. And the guy who owned the grocery store was a guy named Fiddle Williams and his wife. And I can remember I was probably 6 or 7 years old and I'd been sick all day. And my dad said, well, is there anything that, can make you feel better? And I said, I want some ice cream. It's like 10 o'clock at night. So Dad calls Fiddle up. Fiddle opens the store, gets me the ice cream.
Right.
A couple of years later, Fiddle's house caught on fire and the whole neighborhood went into We didn't have a fire station or a fire engine. I mean, they're using buckets and water hoses and everything. And I remember Dad bringing Fiddle back to the house, and they're just covered in soot and everything. And, we gave him food, gave him coffee, and anything they needed. And that's what I remember from my community, is that everybody was part of our family. We all shared in the good times and we shared in the bad times.
Yeah. What's some of your earliest memories or favorite memories from you mentioned harvest, and first thing that comes to my mind is the smell of being around a harvest, and it's always roasting hot. But what were some of your first memories of being out there and favorite memories from that time?
Well, some of my favorite memories is had a very small kitchen, but we made huge dinners, and dinner for us was the noon meal. It was huge. And then
Because you're up at 4, right?
well, there
Maybe?
five at
5?
least. Five at
Yeah.
least. Then lunch was what you took to the field at 4 o'clock, of sandwiches and everything. And supper was what you ate about 8 o'clock, when you
Yeah.
got through. And so I just remember making those meals and taking them to the field and to the harvest and to my dad, and always just kind of sitting down. And it was 30 minutes of just sitting down, relaxing and talking.
What do you remember most about your parents during that time?
My parents were wonderful, very, very good people, pillars in the community. My dad was on the school board, church attending, God fearing. They were just good people.
Yeah. So on the on the school board. So and I know how much education is a huge part of your life. When you're growing up on a dairy farm in a small community, what were your childhood dreams, and did you have aspirations to stay, or did you have aspirations to I want to go and put my imprint on the world?
I was the first grandchild to go to college. I had graduated valedictorian and I had some scholarships to UCO. At that time was Central State
Mhm.
College. And my original intent was to become a physician. I
Oh
really
wow,
wanted
okay.
to be a pediatrician. And I majored in biology and chemistry. And along the process, I met my husband and things kind of changed a little bit. So I got a teaching certificate and I taught for a while. But I also have always been a strong advocate for education,
Mhm.
a strong advocate for small classrooms and teachers that are involved with their kids, and that the kids, even in small schools, you can be given lots of educational opportunities. FFA, you still have choirs, and most of them have some type of drama program, even if it is just a senior play or something like that.
Yeah, looking at it now, growing up, my school wasn't big. It was big for my neighborhood, but it wasn't big in compared to the high schools and the middle schools in the States. And, you look at a Mustangs or a Yukon and giant, high schools, but then you look at, a Cashion or a Calumet or the schools that are out in that area, and you almost kind of want your kids nowadays to go to a smaller school because they get more attention and they get more opportunities, and they're not just a number
That's right.
filtered through the system at some of these bigger schools. So I think that there's obviously a lot of pros and cons for both. But you mentioned, the agricultural education of growing up, and we were chatting a little bit before, what it would be like raising kids out in the country. They're the kids who are raised out in the country, and even in today's world, thankfully, they're still learning hard work.
Yes, they
Right?
are.
And that's such a valuable lesson to learn growing up. They might not enjoy it, as I'm sure you probably didn't growing up either. But those things that they're naturally going to learn will serve them going forward as they get to their adult life.
One of the things that my husband and I did, we had 4 children, and we lived in Edmond. And at that time, Edmond only had one high school, and there was 1,000 kids. And that was just too many kids. So we moved to Cashion, where there were smaller classes. The kids could participate in every sport. They did participate in FFA, and you talk about FFA. It is such a strong program of teaching kids work ethic, and they have speech programs and parliamentary procedure programs and horticultural programs. They have, and showing the steers and the pigs, and my kids showed pigs. I mean, it didn't matter whether it was 10 below outside. They had to feed those pigs. And some of my fondest memories or funniest memories is my daughter especially had a pig that was overweight. So she had to walk that pig so that it would lose weight and could weigh in.
Giving it too many treats.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're so right. There's so many, and thankfully today, FFA in Oklahoma is thriving.
It
You
is.
you
It
see their
is.
big convention in Tulsa, and you see the amount of classes and the kids showing up with so much pride, and they're in their jackets, right? They've got
Yeah,
their hometown on their jacket, where they're from, and it's such a pillar of the community too.
it
Obviously, the pillar
is.
of the community you grew up in is a prime example. Farming and ranching, whatever it is that you're growing, if it's cattle on the beef side or if it's a dairy cow, dairy cows. I mean, we need that, and
Yeah.
it's something that thankfully sounds like government they understand that they understand the importance of it. I'm sure there's been battles, and you're aware of growing up the things that government does that don't understand, because some of the time we won't get into that because we could be here for a long time.
FFA, 4-H, those type of
Yeah.
programs are really character builders. And that's really important
Yeah.
for our youth, I think.
Absolutely. What are some of your, let's say, least favorite memories from those times of getting up early and dairy cows and all the things?
One of the funniest memories that I have, or funny to me
Yeah.
anyway, was so my sister and I, dad had a sick calf, and we were probably, I would say, 10 and 12 at this time.
Okay.
It was about 3/4 of a mile from the field where the calf was to the house. And our job was on the road, to get that calf back to the house. Well, it started attacking us.
Oh, nice.
And my dad came and he was mad at us. What are you girls doing? You're just sloughing off. Well, the calf attacked him too, but it had such a high fever, it was delirious. And so, it was, we were feeling really bad because we were doing such a terrible job. And then when the calf attacked him too, it became kind of funny.
It justified it a little bit, yeah. Are you walking the calf back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
walking it.
Yeah, I'm sure that he was like, "Where are they? I'm gonna go get."
Yeah, it should have taken us, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and it was taking a lot longer than that.
Oh, that's great. Let's go to education. So you go to UCO. You mentioned you become an educator for a little bit. Did you teach then chemistry and biology?
I taught at Edmond Mid-High,
Okay.
9th grade science, taught biology. I did not teach chemistry. I taught
Okay.
biology and the physical sciences.
And obviously, you said you met your husband in college. Do you start a family immediately, or do you guys give it some time?
We were married when I was a junior in college. We had our first child. We'd been married about 4 years when we had our first child.
That's a good enough long enough
Yeah.
wait to enjoy yourself and graduate and
Yeah.
go into the world. What was your husband's path as far as college and into the workforce?
So my husband was from Kansas City,
Mhm.
Kansas. He came to Oklahoma. At that time, Central State College had a lot of houses. They were buying houses around the campus to expand the campus. And a company called A Hanger Wrecking was doing the demolition, and they were out of Kansas City. Ben's dad worked for that company. So when Ben graduated from high school, his dad was insistent. His dad was not educated. Smart man, just wasn't educated. So he was insistent that Ben go to college. So Ben went to college Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then worked Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
It's great, crazy how that works out,
Yeah.
right?
And it worked out great,
Yeah.
and he had a 7:30 a.m. general science psychology class with two gentlemen. Those two and I attended the same church. And so they invited Ben to come to church, and that's where I met Ben.
That's awesome.
And we're all still friends.
Yeah, that's cool. I still have that. What church was that?
Waterloo Church of the Nazarene.
Okay, I drove by it yesterday. I was out
Yeah.
showing houses in Oak Tree, and I drove right by it.
Yes, you
We
would.
came right out of that north exit.
Yeah,
in
you
Oak
would
Tree,
have.
and I was like, oh, because being from SNU, I always I see the
Absolutely.
Nazarene church. I was like, oh, I didn't know there was one.
Yeah.
Here. So, well, good. That's amazing. It's still there. Do you still attend that church today?
No, I do not.
No, don't
No,
live too far away.
I do.
Yeah. So
I will tell you though that I'm friends with lots of
everybody's
people out there. And when they did their 100th anniversary, they called me to be in charge of, and which I felt so honored to do
That's a
that.
huge deal.
And it was wonderful to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, 100 years of anything in America is a big deal.
Yes, it is a big
Right?
deal.
Back home, that kind of happened for us a lot. But,
Yeah.
it's, being out here in anything that stands the test of time for 100 years is see so many generations, so many families, especially with the church. There's generations who have been going there. Which
Yes.
is special.
Well, this church, I mean, Ben and I started going there. I was probably 18, 19 when I started going to that particular church. And until we moved to Colorado, we were at that church.
So do you move to Colorado with the kids before coming back and starting the business? Is that the
That is
okay? That's the gap.
that's the story. So
Okay.
Ben was working, my husband Ben was working for a company called Oklahoma Wrecking. And they had a job in Colorado Springs. So Ben was going to do that job. Chris, our oldest, was a small baby. He was like 3 or 4 months old when we moved. The unfortunate thing was that we didn't get paid while we were there.
Oh.
And we had our electricity cut off. It was not good. And Ben was junking or salvaging at nights, going getting copper and things like that, just so we could have money for diapers and stuff like that. And Urban Renewal gave us a check, or Oklahoma Wrecking a check, and came back to Oklahoma. I met the owner at the bank with the full intention that we were going to get paid all our back pay. And he said, no, I need to have it here. Well, small child, I was pregnant with our second child, and I called Ben. And just to tell you how long ago it was, the job site where he was working had a telephone booth.
Yeah.
And so I called that telephone number,
booth. Yeah.
and somebody would answer it and go get him. And I was very upset. I said, they won't give us any money. I don't know what we're going to do. And Ben was very calm, and he said, I think we'll just start our own business. Okay. So he called one of those two friends, Mike Hamilton, and Mike and Ben started the business. And I before I went back to Colorado Springs, I picked up books that listed all the schools in Oklahoma, all the banks in Oklahoma, because that's where you get a lot of your jobs from. And I go back and I type. This is back on a manual typewriter that tells you how long ago it was, and typed 5,000 letters to all those. And we got we did a couple of jobs in Colorado. And then our first job in Oklahoma was at Shakota, Oklahoma, tearing down a WPA stadium. And it was probably about 5-6 years. We were paying the bills. But that's all we were doing.
Sure.
And then where Waterford stands now here in Oklahoma City at 6030 Penn, there used to be a Baptist children's home there.
Okay.
And it had multiple buildings, multiple story buildings. And Ben went every day to see. Andy Tolles was the guy who was in charge of that project, and it was for a guy named Charlie Gibbons. Every day, Ben went to see Andy. You got to let me do this job. No, Ben, you're not big enough. You can't do this job. Oh, I can, Andy. I can, every day. And finally, Andy said, okay, but you've got to have it done in 30 days. And we did it in 18. And it was a high profile job right there in the corner of 6030 Penn.
Yeah, people are driving by every day. Yeah.
And we had big red trucks, and which really stood out. And so people started paying attention. And it wasn't too much later after that we got a job where Leadership Square is now. We got that job. Again, it was a high profile job, downtown Oklahoma City, big red trucks. Well, who is this Midwest Wrecking? And that was kind of our turning point, quite honestly.
Naturally, like you said, Ben grew up in the business.
Yes,
he knew everything about it.
He did.
So
He did.
starting it was just, okay, let's just do our own. But it's never that easy.
No,
and
no.
you're pregnant and you have a little one with you and no money.
No money. We borrowed money from my parents to move back home on. And I did all the accounting. And, Ben was a very friendly person, and he could talk to anybody, and he did know the business. He knew it very well.
Yeah.
So, it just took a while though we needed that job, that one job that would put our name or make people realize who we were. And We've been very blessed. Very
And you said
blessed.
Mike Hamilton was who started with the business?
Mhm.
Okay, with Ben.
Yes.
Yeah. And did he had previous experience as well?
No,
No, just a friend?
he was just a friend. He
Yeah.
ran a book plant in
Okay.
Edmond, and it was, they just were good
Mm.
friends, and so they were partners. Mike sold out in 1998, and they had a great partnership. They really did. A lot of partnerships, they're
Yeah,
little.
yeah. You go through, any
No,
partnership goes through
no,
a bit of a
they
relationship.
really respected each other.
Yeah.
Didn't make decisions without really talking to each other.
Mhm.
It was a great partnership.
Yeah. So you're doing the books while raising your second child, both kids at the time, and like said, you have that moment where you get those two big jobs, one at 63rd and Penn, where Waterford is now, and then you have one at Leadership Square. What was the reason for the red trucks? Where does that? Because clearly they stood out.
Yes.
Well, and starting out a business with borrowing. I have no idea what you need to buy start a wrecking company, but you need a truck and a trailer and something to knock buildings out with.
Yeah, you need
they're
an
not cheap,
excavator or
right?
something. Yes.
Yeah, they're not
a
cheap
loader or
machines.
something of that sort. Ben grew up and graduated from Rosedale High School in Kansas City. The color was a dark kind of army green,
Mhm.
maybe a little brighter than that. And so they had put that on a truck and it faded really bad in the sunlight. And so the next choice, they decided to go with red because the paint would endure better. And couldn't have been a better decision.
Yeah, because they stand out.
They do stand out.
Right?
They do
I
stand out.
tell you, I can't name another wrecking company in Oklahoma City because I don't know what their trucks look like, but I know what your trucks look like.
There are several other
Right,
wrecking companies.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, there was obviously the company that Ben was working for that sent you to Colorado. What other competition was there at the time? And then has competition grown or kind of disappeared?
Actually, there was a lot of competition
Okay.
at that time. Several well-established demolition companies, they have either gone out of business, moved out of state, or gone out of business because the owners died or something.
Mhm.
There are still probably 3 or 4
Yeah.
pretty good sized companies. I think we probably are the best known
Mhm.
because we've been around. In fact, this year is our 50th.
I was going to say, I'm doing the math. What is the day?
Actually, it was in March.
It was in March. 50 years. Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
50 years. We're going to do a celebration in October.
Great.
And my 2 sons, I have 3 sons. One of them lives in Kansas City and has his own demolition company.
Oh, great.
And then my 2 sons here, Chris and Kevin, now actually own the business.
Okay. Yeah. So you can enjoy grandmother, not
That's
worrying
right.
too, and
That's right.
giving back to the community.
That's right. I can do all
enjoying
this philanthropic.
all of your boards and not worrying about what our trucks are doing, where they're at, and
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
what
They
buildings
really
we're
are.
knocking down today. It's like, for me, like the 12-year-old boy in me, right, sees that and just thinks, I used to play with that at a miniature scale in a sand pit, just mess around and see that. And I'm sure like the guys got that, they kept that itch forever. But from your side of the perspective, on the accounting side and being a mum and then going into further into the business, the later that it goes on, to you, it's a business with numbers on a sheet, right? And employees that are friends and family members and they become family.
They do.
So for you on the business side of it, what was that like being a part of a business for 50 years and seeing the things grow and just making money to having those 2 big jobs that really put you guys, gave you a little, the leap, and then it snowballs from there to become, the biggest, one of, if not the biggest demolition company in the state.
I think you have to respect your employees because you are nothing without your employees.
Absolutely.
And we always treated our employees as friends. And one of the things that was a lot of my responsibility was getting a benefit package because that is not a common practice, or especially at that time, the common practice in construction. They're usually hourly employees, no health insurance, no retirement plan. And we made sure they had health insurance. And the other thing that is probably really significant and has made a big impact on our employees is we have a true profit sharing plan. It's not a 401k. So they're getting a substantial amount of money in their retirement plan every year, and which is very, very helpful to all those that are retiring.
Because people do see construction as like, if you meet someone at a bar or a restaurant, what do you do? And they say, "Oh, I work in construction." Unfortunately, immediately the cliche is to, "Oh, you dig ditches. You were not good at
Yeah.
school. You don't have a brain."
Right.
Right? Which is not the case when you sometimes, I mean, sometimes it is the case, but back in the day, it was probably the case. But, there is that cliche side of it. But like you said, when you talk about health insurance, taking care of them, it is really hard work. So you probably have to take care of them because I'm sure the
Yes, it is.
turnover has not been great. Just in the industry in general, the turnover is there. And then also the liability side of things, like this is not it's a dangerous business to be in, especially if you're talking demolition and sometimes you are putting holes in things and blowing stuff up sometimes, right? Sometimes, maybe.
I think you alluded to this a few minutes ago that a lot of, especially when we started and 20, 25 years ago, a lot of them were not educated, but they're intelligent. They were very smart.
Yeah. Like
And
Ben Stack.
yes,
Yeah.
and it is not just going out and knocking a building down. There is a science to it, especially when you start getting taller buildings. And I can remember very vividly watching Ben's dad tear down a old granary, and it had rebar in the center. So it was very, very sturdy, actually. And I'm sitting there filming, and people are coming up. Well, why didn't he just do this? Why didn't he do that?
Armchair quarterbacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, you really don't understand. It's not that easy. And some of the buildings are dangerous. And some of the buildings, interestingly enough, is that when we first started in business, it was all demolition, actually tearing down the buildings or the structure. But over the years, it's become a lot more of interior renovation.
Okay. So
You know,
preserving the outside structure,
yes.
but carefully
You
taking
talk
down the
about
inside.
First National Bank.
Yeah.
That's an example. The Skirvin, the Civic Center has been interior renovated.
Yeah.
It's a lot more of that because some of these buildings structurally are good. And in the case of the Skirvin, it's very historic, obviously. And so is First National.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of interior demolition, which is also has its own challenges because it may have been renovated 2 or 3 dozen times and you don't actually know what is behind that wall.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a game.
It
That's a
is.
really
Yeah.
and those are great buildings in Oklahoma City's history, and to have that impact on a
Yes.
city with its history and other build and and then for the business side to prove to others as the business grows, we can handle the historic interiors. It's just
That's right.
like you said, it's you could knock a wall down and like, well, this is different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of surprises there,
Yeah,
right? Every day could be a
exactly.
surprise, and as the business grows, what do you getting into the business the way that, from your side, what did you fall in love with in the business that you maybe didn't think you'd fall in?
I think that I didn't realize how much I would enjoy working with the employees. And they became friends. We traveled with them, a- attended sporting events with their kids. It was a family, and I didn't think of it that way at the beginning.
Yeah, people think of just, hey, we just knock down buildings. There's not much to it. There's, and old things, right? Like you definitely see the trucks, but when a building's being knocked down, people are immediately forget about it, right? Like whatever's next, which Oklahoma City did a lot, right? Growing up, Oklahoma City knocked down a lot of
Yes, they
buildings
did.
compared to others in Tulsa and other buildings. And obviously, right now downtown Oklahoma City, they've just got rid of the arena. Are you guys working on that?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
And there's this giant gaping hole in the middle of downtown Oklahoma City, and now you
Exactly.
see the skyline at ground level, and you're just like, wow, this is a friend of mine. Chris is the general manager of Paycom Center, and we did the math on how much the new one is costing and how many days he has to open that new one with everything that's going on as far as just like, and because we had lunch and I said, how's things going? And he goes, it is the longest sprint of my life because every day we were sprinting to stay on schedule, but we got like, however long it is to do it. And so we did the math of how much each day is costing him. or them. And he's like, yeah, you understand now why I'm sprinting every day and
Yeah.
everyone's got to be
That's
on,
amazing.
to do
That
that. And
is.
we did the math and we're like, wow. Because you think of, oh, the building will be done,
Yeah.
but no one thinks of how much work there is to be
That
done.
is.
But first you've got to take the building down, which is what you
That's
guys
right.
do. And so, like you said, with your first big job, you need to do it in 30 days and you do it in 18. You're the first domino to fall.
That's right. We're
to
the
do
first
that.
one on the job, usually. And you have to keep on schedule because you are the first one on the job. And if you're behind, then the next person's going to be behind and it just dominoes. And, the old joke about construction's always 6 months later than they say it's going to be done.
Yeah. Well, and you deal with the Oklahoma weather too, right?
The
Whether it's
weather,
roasting
yes.
hot or
Yes.
ice storms in the middle of
Yes.
March sometimes when you think it's spring and it's not.
Right. Right.
Great. Thanks, Oklahoma. Appreciate it. 50 years, which is amazing. 1976. And what was the year that, like you said, that you had those couple of big breaks with?
1982.
1982. Okay. So we're in things progress through the 80s. You get into the 90s. The kids are older. You're starting to breathe more. Things are like,
Yes.
we can do this. Going
Yeah.
from we're starting a business, we're 10 years in, and now this is what we do. Did you have time during those as the kids get older to have some community time and community support
Yes,
for you to get
but it
back?
was more with the kids,
Okay.
more with the school,
Mhm.
more with PTA or FFA or sporting events, or it was more not necessarily out in to the Oklahoma City community.
Mhm.
I really didn't get actively involved in the Oklahoma City community until after my husband died.
Okay. Which was 2015.
That's
So 11,
correct.
11 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
That's correct.
When the kids, so did you move, when the kids get out of high school, do you move back to Oklahoma City from Cashin? The kids go to college?
The last child graduated in 2001, and
Okay.
we moved back to Oklahoma City in 2007.
Okay.
Loved Cashin,
Yeah.
loved the people, loved the community. But our business was in Oklahoma City, and we were leaving the house early in the morning and not getting home until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying some land and built a house exactly half a mile from the office.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it was really amazing.
Yeah.
And our kids were older now, and
Yeah.
two of them were living in Edmond. So it just became a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah.
Still love Cash.
You still live in the same house?
Since 2007,
Okay.
yes.
How was building a house? How was that?
Challenging.
It's people either love it or they hate it. It's a hard thing to do.
We were blessed, and that one of those two friends that I mentioned early on in college, Gary is his name, he built our house.
Okay.
And he is meticulous.
Good.
He is a perfectionist. It was a slow process, but for most people, when they build a house, your builder says, well, you've got $10,000 to spend on appliances. With Gary, we went together and we did it on a cost plus basis. And so he helped me pick out the furnishings and the light fixtures and
That's the way to do it.
everything. And it was, he'd say, well, don't spend any money here. Nobody's ever going to see that. Or
Yeah.
here's where you need to spend your money. And it was great. Actually, he and I worked together very well.
Good.
We really
And
did.
he understood your needs. The kids are a
Yes.
little older, but you're still in the house, so you want
Right.
it's built to last. You want to host family events, all the things.
That was the game plan. I like to host events, parties, families, gatherings.
So you moved back to Oklahoma City during this time. Over the 50 years, what has been some of the toughest times you guys have gone through? Because we learn more from our failures than we do our successes, and you're an immensely successful company to be going for 50 years and going strong. But take me through some of the times where you really persevered and learned.
I think, without a doubt, the toughest thing that ever happened to us was the Murrah bombing
95. Mhm.
because it was emotionally draining. We were on that job at the very beginning.
Yeah.
We were one of the last ones to leave because the original part of our work that we did was helping move debris for search and rescue. And then once they decided that they could no longer the building was unstable, then we came in and removed because there was file cabinets and desks and stuff
Yeah.
on all those floors, and we removed all those. And then once the building was imploded, then we went back and did
Did
the whole building.
there's so many stories in that building. It's such an impactful moment,
Oh,
and not just for the Oklahoma, for the entire country, and for you guys to have that opportunity to be the first on the site, last to leave, in not a sexy business, right? Like it
no,
is,
no.
it's not, but at the same time, the impact that you have, and whether you're preserving things that come out that are now in the museum, or just the care, and there's loved ones and people search and rescue. I mean,
I don't think that you can give credit enough to all the first responders, not only the local ones, but the ones who came from out of state, because they did a phenomenal job under very, very difficult circumstances. And the compassion that this community showed to everybody that was involved is just unbelievable.
yeah, I can't imagine how that was for you as a mum going through that, right?
There was
That's
actually
coming home and all the things you got to deal with.
the my son was a senior. One of my sons was a senior that year, and one of his classmates' dad was killed. Well, actually, Tim and Allison were the same class, and Meryl and Kevin. So two of them, and then Sarah, the older daughter, was a year older than my oldest son. So we had been with their family a lot. So it hit home. I mean, it was very real.
When you go through that and you go through the events, and you talk about the historical stuff that you guys get to do as well as preservation or knocking down, there is a greater appreciation for this state
Yeah.
and the way that you grew up too. You see all of it, from the inner city downtown work that you do to growing about on a dairy farm. Tell me a little bit about your appreciation and your love for Oklahoma and how that's grown over the
I
years.
think Oklahoma is the greatest place in the whole world. I love Oklahoma. I love everything about it. I love the people most. I think that's what Oklahoma is about, is the people. You get farmers and ranchers out in western Oklahoma. You get oil people in northeastern Oklahoma. But the people, as a general rule, are very hardworking, very compassionate, very caring. And there is a lot of really smart people in this state, really intelligent people.
A lot of them have been
And a
inducted.
lot of them are in the Oklahoma
Yes.
Hall of Fame. And
Yeah,
so they should be.
absolutely. Yeah, I love it here. Everyone, yeah, I always tell my friends, if my friends visit or they come to the States, they go to New York and they go to Miami and they go to LA and they do the cliche, thing. I'm like, just come here for a week. Just, you're already here. It won't cost you anything. I'll take care of it all. Just come stay at mine and enjoy what like a real, quote, real America is like. And the ones that have done it, they love it.
I mean, and we have phenomenal food places. The restaurant scene has become extremely good. We have
Yeah.
good arts programs. There's a lot of wonderful things here. And sometimes we cut ourselves short. We don't talk about those good things.
That's an Oklahoma thing I've
Yeah.
noticed. We're not too boastful,
No, we're not.
but sometimes we really need to be. Yeah,
We need to be proud of our heritage here.
it's a great way to put it. Yeah, boastful sounds like we're screaming our heads off saying we're amazing.
Yeah.
We are amazing. We don't need to tell you though. So you mentioned earlier that your community involvement really started after Ben passed.
Yes.
Before leading up to that moment, in 2015, and then in the years before that, are you kind of just in, you said you're involved at school with the kids and stuff, but was Ben kind of more the front facing out in the community side, or neither of you until Ben passed?
Well, Ben served on the school board.
Yeah.
He coached Little League baseball and basketball. So we were involved in community events, but they were more cash in,
Yeah.
more our kids connection.
That makes sense.
Had just some fantastic friendships that we developed over the years. Then my daughter played Division I basketball, and she played at Mississippi State. So we traveled there, made a new set of friends,
Yeah.
which was wonderful. you know, we were totally involved between the business and our kids. We had a full life.
Yeah,
We were very
absolutely.
busy.
And so Ben passed in 2015,
Yes.
and you mentioned you kind of more into the community side that way. How was the business side of things for you during that time? Are you thrown in that way? Like, hey, yeah,
Yeah.
what'd that look like? Because that can't be. I mean, you're dealing with losing your husband. You're right. You have young friends. The kids are grown, but they're adults to understand that they've also lost their dad.
That's right.
And then you have this business, which is 40 years old at this point.
My kids were very, my boys were very good during that time. I mean, they understood the business. So they handled the part that I just continued with the accounting side, and they handled the bidding, the jobs and all of that. And they're both very personable. Chris is an extremely hard worker. Extremely. I mean, he puts in 50, 60 hours every week. Kevin is just as hard worker. Now, he doesn't work a lot of Saturdays because he has 3 kids and he spends a lot of time with his family, which I think he should.
Absolutely.
But they seem to be really good partners for each other.
Yeah. Was there a friend that drew you into the community side during 2015, 2016 to get you involved?
Yes, there was a girl who asked me about joining the Science Museum. And so I did that. And then I had actually, I believe, already joined the YWCA board prior to his death. And I became more involved. And then, it's one thing when you start serving on a board, somebody else calls and somebody else calls. And there's so many great organizations out there.
Yeah. The problem is then turning them down.
Yes.
Right.
it
Because there is
is.
so many, you don't have time.
And I've been very fortunate to be involved in some with excellent CEOs and programs that do a lot of good for this community.
Yeah. And you got to kind of scratch your science itch a little bit.
Yes,
Going
I
to the Science
did.
Museum,
I
which is
did.
such a cool place.
It is.
I
a
love their
cool
open
place.
house that they do every year. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Do you ever go to their SMO 21s?
No, I need to go to that.
You do.
Okay, I
Because
should
they're
do that.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to.
They, not too long ago, they had one that was a spy mystery, kind of like solving a mystery type
Yeah.
thing. And everybody just loved it. They're very creative.
Yeah, they are. And everybody that I know that is involved in it loves it too.
Yes.
Really enjoys that. And they know they do continue to do great things there. So what are the during that time then, what are the things that you did say yes to, the boards that you really got into?
Let's say the YWCA, which I'm a strong supporter of still today. I've termed out working on that not too long ago, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, which I love. I think it's a great organization. And I think that there's a lot of people that they have this idea that it's just selecting people to be in the Hall of Fame. And they do so many other things.
There's a lot more education stuff
Oh
in
my
that
goodness.
than just inducting 7, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Yes,
10
there's
people.
so much more. I mean, they have during the summer free Thursdays that you can bring your kids here. And I think it's really important that kid out in Elgin, Oklahoma can come here and see all these people. Because if you look at the bios of a lot of these here, they grew up in very small towns. They were not, they didn't come from families of great wealth or anything. They were hard-working people and just did great things.
Absolutely.
And so I think kids need that. They need that role model. They need that. Maybe they won't. I had a teacher tell me way back in grade school that aim for the stars. You may not make it to the stars, but you'll learn a lot on the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that realization or just that reminder that, you don't have to be from a big city to do that, especially with this thing now on technology. You can do whatever it is that you need to as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, and by doing that, you you can dream about what you want.
Yes, you can.
People in this state who are going on to do, continuing to go on to do great things, but you look at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, you look at, you know, we've had astronauts, we've had movie stars and musicians and scientists and all the things. And you're just like, every year I go to the Hall of Fame induction, I'm just blown away
Oh
by,
my goodness, too.
and some of the time the people inducted inducted, like I said, they're not the superstars or the Blake Sheltons of the
Right.
world, right? It's, we can't induct those people every year, and you get to learn so much about people.
You may not have actually heard their name before.
Absolutely.
And then you go to that induction ceremony and they're telling their story and reading their bios, and you think, wow, these guys are great.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Oklahoma Hall of Fame is about, is
Absolutely.
recognizing those people that have done significant contributions, not just to Oklahoma, but maybe across the
Yeah,
US.
absolutely. Yeah, and sometimes it's the world,
And
right?
that's right.
Such a
Yes.
such a great impact from from these communities that we call home. But yeah, to others, you look at someone's bio and you're like, wait a second, we don't even know what that town is,
Right.
and you look it
Exactly.
up, and
Yeah.
like I said, there's 500 people there,
That's right.
and it goes on. But there's opportunity everywhere, and that's what the Oklahoma Hall of Fame does, is train the kids that.
You have to have a little initiative. You have to have a
Absolutely.
little, gumption to go out and work hard.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I can rattle off 3 or 4 names right now that are in the Hall of Fame that they didn't have an easy life.
Mo Anderson is one of them I can think
Yes.
of. Yeah,
Yes.
no one, and
And
that
what
was
she's
famous.
done in her hometown
Mm.
is marvelous.
Yeah. So does that lead well into what I have in my notes here about Jameson Hall and Calumet?
Well, I guess it does.
I like that.
Ah.
Thank you for leading me into that. Tell me about it.
So many years ago, Ben and I talked about, we were successful. We want to give back. And so we wanted to do something in Calumet, and just never, I mean, we kept talking about it, never did. But I, I finally decided I was going to have to do it. I needed to get it done. So I went and talked to one of the neighbors at my dad's place, and he was on the school board. And I said, hey, Gary, this is what I'd like to do. How do you think the school is going to be receptive to that? I don't want this to cause problems. And he said, oh, I think they'll love it. And so he went with me and we talked to the superintendent, and then we made a presentation to the school board. It's going to be called the Leroy and Wilma Jameson Hall, which is my parents. And so it will always bear their name.
Yes.
It is going to be like a performing arts center in a way, but the seats will not be permanent. So they can use it for graduations. They can use it for dramas, band concerts, anything of that sort. And then they can also put tables and chairs and use it for FFA banquets,
Yeah.
sports banquets, whatever. And the community can use it. And
Yeah.
the school will own it, but the community can use it. I see funerals, other community events there. One thing that Calumet does and has done for many, many years, I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I think it's around 80. They do a Christmas pageant every year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And they
that's
do
really
it
cool.
downtown in the
Yeah.
center of Calumet. And the senior class are the participants, Mary and Joseph and the wise men and all
Yeah.
that. And it's done outside
Yeah.
because the weather is really cold.
Yeah.
So everything they had to do before was in the gymnasium. Well, you know how the acoustics are
Yeah.
in something
Terrible.
like
They're
that.
not built for acoustics. Yeah.
And this will have state of the art sound system. And so they can move it if they
Yeah.
need be. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
And I believe the town is excited about it.
When will it be? What's the completion?
April
expected
of
completion?
27,
Okay.
it is to be ready for graduation, for
Amazing.
the senior graduation in May of 27.
Yeah.
So very excited about it.
What was the decision to put your parents' name on the building?
I'm just proud of my parents and
Yeah.
my heritage.
It's not a light decision. That's something that
No.
takes a lot.
I don't need my name on a building. I needed my parents.
Yeah.
And they were pillars. They lived up in my community for probably 60, 70 years.
Wow.
And
When did they pass?
mom died in 2002 and dad died in 2014.
Dad had strong genes then.
Yes. Mom died in a car accident, and then dad died in his heart gave out.
Yeah.
He was 89.
So that's a good, strong life for a
Yes.
farmer at 89.
Yeah. My grandparents were married 70 some years.
Do you ever ask your parents how they met?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
How did they meet?
A friend introduced them.
I always love that, like
Yeah.
how people meet, because you just
Yeah.
never know how the world brings people together and how, life could have been different. You could have been in Colorado for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. You never know how things work out.
Both of them graduated high school, but they didn't go to college. And it that wasn't back then. It was kind of different,
Sure.
It wasn't. And Dad started farming and milking cows right away. They got
Yeah.
married in 1948 and started the dairy business immediately. And Mom was very involved in the dairy business too. I mean, she was helping milk cows and feed the calves and whatever needed to be done. So I had wonderful parents. I I listened, in some of Positive Tomorrows and some of these other organizations, and I hear the stories about the children that had less than good lives. And I feel very blessed because my parents were good people
Yeah.
and they loved us and they supported us. And I just needed to give back. And I wanted to give back to my community too. When I was graduated, I was a senior in high school. I went on a 4-H people to people tour and we went to Europe and we were gone for like 3 weeks. My town took up a collection to buy me luggage. And I mean, I'm just thinking, how special is
That's
that?
so special. Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And I
That
love my town.
graduation day next year is going to be so great.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun.
Do you have any family, relatives, or members graduating?
No,
No.
the superintendent's son will be graduating,
That's great.
and they've asked me to be the speaker.
Oh,
So I'm excited about that.
have you done commencement
Yes.
speeches? Okay.
Not commencement speech.
But
I've done a
you
lot of speaking.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have an idea of what you want to talk about?
I do. I do.
So, this is so personal to you, so it's going to be hard. It's probably the hardest
Yeah.
speech you've ever done.
This is crazy, but okay. So I still have my valedictorian speech.
Wow.
And my 2 sisters and my brother has used it. My niece has used it. My other niece has used it.
Great.
So I'm going to take not
Yeah,
of it's
sure.
relative, but I'm going to take pieces of that. And I'm going to talk about the choices. I think I may change my mind,
Yeah.
but they're going out in the world and some of them will go to college, some of them will go to the service, some of them will stay right there on the farm in the town, but they will have choices. And so I don't know. We'll see how it turns out.
Oh, that's guys. I'm excited for that. That's great. So then, to have that impact, to have a building that will outlive all of us, that has your parents' name on it, that will stand the test of time for that. And for once, like not for once, maybe you've done this before, but building something versus tearing it down has kind of an ironic thing to it for
Yeah,
you guys,
it does.
right?
It does.
To do that, to give
Yeah,
back to your
and
whole
it's
community.
it's going to be it's about a 20,000 square foot building, so it's
Yeah.
probably more than Calumet needs right now, but I wanted it for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they will use it, and the superintendent has been wonderful. He's so excited about it. And
Do you play an instrument?
I do. I play the piano.
You play piano? Okay. Because I know I haven't tried. I would love to learn. I need to learn. I need to just kind of set myself a goal and do it. Because I have had Brian Gorrell has been on the podcast. He's at UCO and he was talking to me about it, and he's a jazz professor. And we talked about it a lot. And at the time, he was Burns Hargis's piano teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How
And
cool
so,
is
because we were
that?
talking about piano and we were talking about, and he was Burns, was on the podcast and we made the connection. But it's something that you could, if you don't continue it, you lose it, right? It's not like riding a bike. Some people need to continue it. So have you played it from a child all the way through?
Started taking, well, actually, my parents started me on accordion lessons.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a big, heavy instrument.
Yeah.
So there was a lady in our neighborhood that taught piano lessons. So I was probably 6 or so. And I took up until I was a junior in high school, was church pianist and church organist for a while.
How different is the organ to the piano as far as playing?
It's different.
It is very different.
Yeah.
More feet pedals.
Okay. So music, being around the Nazarene church, the gospel style of music. Well, you do that on a piano. You lots of arpeggios and different
Sure.
things. Where on an organ, it's not so much. It's more just playing the notes,
Okay.
and you don't want it to sound choppy. You want it very smooth.
Yeah, they have the building on campus. So the Nazarene has a pretty big organ in it, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
And it was sounding great to us.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be in there because we wanted to go and, run around and be in college and play golf and do other things. But yeah, when we were there, and I do remember it never sounded bad. You should have a moment to yourself in that new building and just play piano in it. That would be
Maybe so.
special.
Maybe
Yeah.
so.
Or play for everybody. It doesn't matter.
No.
Right? That's your speech.
No,
Like,
I
hey
have-
guys, I
I'm
don't
pretty
get supposed to
rusty.
speak, but
Pretty
I'm gonna
rusty.
do this. Love it. Well, I appreciate our time together. Thank you so much for coming in. One final question for you, which is kind
Okay.
of a funny one. What's your Brahms order?
Butter pecan.
Butter pecan ice cream?
Yes.
Has it always been butter pecan?
They used to, a long time ago, have butterscotch, and I loved it. But they haven't had that for a long time. And my husband and I were dating, and we went, that was a big date for us to go to Brahms.
Absolutely.
And just to tell you, price differences, we get on special nights, you'd get 2 dips for a quarter. But yeah, I love
would love to have
Brahms.
been around for those days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not expensive now, but it is more than a quarter.
There was an older couple that managed the Brahms there in Edmond. And I mean, we were regulars and we got to know them, and it was really kind of cool. But
Have you ever been to the farm in Tuttle?
No,
Because I mean, it's obviously you would recognize a lot of the stuff they do,
Yeah.
right? Being a dairy
Yeah.
farm, it's such a huge facility.
it is. My nephew is a veterinarian in El Reno, and he's gone out there and taken care of the cows and stuff
Yeah.
at times.
I love it. It's dangerous.
So,
I
what's
love
your
it.
favorite Brahms order?
So waffle cone, a double dip, and I do birthday cake on the bottom, chocolate almond on the top.
That
Because
sounds
chocolate
pretty
almonds
good.
just a little bit to just get my chocolate fix, and I like
Yeah.
the almonds. And then the birthday cake is like total sugar rush, and
Yeah,
it's a treat.
that
Oh,
Brahms ice cream.
so good. Well, thank you. This has been a pleasure.
Enjoyed this.
Taking so much time out of your day to do this and share your story. I know sometimes it's not easy to talk about ourselves, but you do
No.
it really well. Congratulations on 50 years of the business. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
I know you'll celebrate it well in October. And then next April, you will get to see the first senior group graduate through your building,
I
which is
know.
amazing.
I will be very excited.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy 4th of July.
Same to you.
It's coming
Same
up.
to you.
Happy 250. And for people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Metro Ford of OKC is proudly serving Oklahoma City with vehicles you can rely on and service you can trust. It's also why they're Oklahoma's #1 performance dealership. Shop the inventory today at metrofordokc.com, where the difference is real.
Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. So if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC, and hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.